Good morning, I'm Gerg Cahiles sitting in for Maiki Oreta. And you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers, connect the dots, and give you the developments and the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Let's dive right in. The headlines. The Bureau of Internal Revenue is confident it will hit its 3.2 trillion peso target for 2025. Power distributor Meralco gets a fresh 25-year franchise. And the White House says U.S. President Donald Trump is ready to make a trade deal with China. First, let's take a look at how financial markets performed overnight. U.S. stocks ended in the negative territory on Tuesday amid high uncertainty on tariffs. This is as shares of consumers and healthcare companies eased, dragging the markets down despite the positive corporate earnings results from banks.
You want to talk about flip-flopping? Trump tariffed, he untariffed, he re-tariffed, and he partially untariffed and said, I could flip that again. All right, that's a flip-flop. So how do you invest money and have a long-term strategy when the rules are changing almost daily?
The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 0.38%. The S&P 500 lost 0.17%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq inched down by 0.05%. Over in Europe, stocks rose. The UK's FTSE 100 gained 1.41%. Germany's DAX inched up by 1.43%, and France's CAC 40 rose 0.86%. The Bureau of Internal Revenue stands firm on its over 3 trillion peso collection target despite economic headwinds. The details from Sujin Kim.
As the deadline for filing annual income tax returns concludes, BIR Commissioner Romeo Lumagi Jr. remains confident that the agency can achieve its record-breaking 3.23 trillion peso collection target for the year. He states that there are no plans to revise the goal downwards despite prevailing economic headwinds.
Sa ngayon, hindi namin inaasahan or hindi namin tinitingnan kung magkakaroon ng adjustment on the goal or collection target. As far as we're concerned, we're still working on achieving the 3.23 trillion collection target at dyan kami nakafocus.
For this month alone, he expects 480 billion pesos in revenue. Lumagi attributes this confidence to the agency's intensified crackdown on fraudulent activities, particularly the use of fake receipts. This initiative has already led to the filing of cases against major entities, with cosmetics company Everbilena as of late.
Yung paghahabol natin sa mga gumagawa ng mga peking resibo, nakafocus tayo dyan and nakita naman natin na maraming mga taxpayers ang tumigil dito kaya naman tumaas ang collection natin sa VAT. At yan din ang tinututukan pa natin.
The BIR is also heightening their campaign against illicit trade such as vape products sold online and in physical stores. The agency is also enhancing its digital infrastructure to streamline tax compliance. All regional and district offices are now equipped for online transactions, with the full transition to digital filing anticipated by next year.
Patuloy pa rin ang ginagawa nating improvement sa ating digital transformation dahil ang pakay niyan ay mas padaliin ang pag-comply sa pagbabayad ng buwis.
Although MSMEs still have the option to file manually as part of the ease of paying taxes law, taxpayers are reminded that failure to file by the deadline may result in penalties. The BIR continues to encourage timely compliance to support national development and public service initiatives. Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
The Philippine financial system's total resources expands to 33.61 trillion pesos as of February. Data from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP shows this is 7.3% higher than the 31.33 trillion pesos recorded in the same period last year. Financial institutions' resources include funds and assets like deposits, capital and bonds, or debt securities. Michael Ricafort, chief economist at the Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation, explains this is due to the expansion of banks' loan portfolio through the ramping up of lending to the consumer sector. Cash remittances grow by 2.7% to $2.72 billion in February. Data from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP shows this is higher than $2.65 billion recorded in the same month of 2024. However, the growth was slower than 2.9% rise in January and slowest since 2.5% expansion in June. The BSP explains the cash remittances expanded due to the growth of remittances from the United States, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, and the United Arab Emirates. President Bongbong Marcos signed into law a measure extending Meralco's franchise for another 25 years. This means the company will have the authority to distribute power to Metro Manila, Bulacan, Cavite, Rizal, and select areas in Batangas, Laguna, Quezon, and Pampanga until 2053. Ultra-Bilyonaryo Manny Pangilinan thanked President Marcos and both houses of Congress for their support. MVP added that they will implement long-term energy infrastructure projects that will further improve the delivery of electricity to homes, businesses, and industries that fuel the country's development. The Department of Agriculture or DA urges fish vendors to keep prices reasonable. This is as Catholics abstain from meat during the Lenten season. Agriculture spokesperson Joyce Panlilio says while demand for fish is expected to spike, it should not be used as a reason to hike prices. Based on the agency's price monitoring, fish prices per kilo decreased over the past 3 weeks, but retail prices for some varieties have increased, while others remain stable and even decline. Consumers can also expect prices of ground scad or galunggong to range from 180 pesos to 320 pesos per kilo, with prevailing price at 240 pesos per kilo as of Monday. The National Food Authority is seeking an additional 8 billion pesos to procure rice and fulfill the mandated 15-day national rice buffer stock. NFA Administrator Larry Lacson said the agency currently has a buffer of 358,000 metric tons of rice. This is good for only 9 days. The amount is in addition to the 9 billion pesos previously allocated to the NFA for purchasing rice from local farmers. Because of the declaration of food security emergency in February, the NFA began selling its rice reserves to local government units. The Bank of Philippine Islands of the ultra-billionaryo Zobel family extends ABS-CBN's 5 billion peso loan deadline to September 1st this year. Based on documents obtained by Bilyonaryo.com, ABS-CBN said the extension was made on the same terms as the original agreement. ABS-CBN is still in talks with BPI to refinance its remaining debt. The extension was granted just days after the Lopezes sold 3 hectares out of ABS-CBN's Mother Ignacia compound in Quezon City to Zobel's Ayala Land Incorporated for 6.2 billion pesos. ABS-CBN has been negotiating for a waiver on payments with its creditors since its 3-year standstill agreement with banks lapsed in 2023. We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and narratives that matter most to the bottom line. Trading at the Philippine Stock Exchange opened earlier. Let's look at the initial figures. The main index is in the red, trading at 6140, down from previous close of 6186. Among sub-indices, only mining and oil is in the green. Gainers currently outpacing decliners 54 to 51, and so far value turnover has reached 320.5 million. Meanwhile, in the currency markets, the peso opened weaker at 56.80 against a greenback, depreciating from Monday's close of 56.77. The Education Department will use artificial intelligence or AI to become more effective in helping students and schools. The Trade and Industry Department is lending a helping hand by donating laptops to the DepEd. Sujin Kim returns with the details.
In truth, yes, we are lagging behind. That's why we really need to push.
Trade Secretary Cristina Roque admits the Philippines still has a long way to go to prepare for an AI-powered future.
Our vision has always been to harness AI to address real-world challenges, especially faced by our micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs.
As part of that vision, the Department of Trade and Industry partnered with the Education Department to donate up to 2.6 million pesos worth of high-powered laptops.
This collaboration with DepEd is crucial in shaping integration of digital tools to transform our educational system, making tangible improvements in our schools and community.
We will need educated workers, high-skilled workers going forward. Not just no child is left behind, but also that our children have access to the most modern technologies and are computer savvy and computer literate. Hindi tayo magpapaiwan dyan.
These will be used for DepEd's new Center for AI Research, a key step in bringing advanced digital tools to schools nationwide. DepEd says the machines will help develop 7 AI tools targeted for launch before June, tools that will boost school operations, guide fund use, and speed up responses to public inquiries. The AI system will also help identify learners with disabilities and detect early warning signs in schools, including malnutrition.
This one helps the DepEd solve the systemic problems, yung mga persistent problems of education. Then they can help us spend money where it's more needed. It can really process a lot of data in a short amount of time.
Angara says traditional systems no longer suffice and that the youth must be given the tools to compete and thrive in the digital age. Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Long lines at NAIA's immigration counters are said to be easing, thanks to a joint effort between the government and the private sector. Our mobility correspondent G. Baroga has the details.
Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon visited the Terminal 3 of NAIA Tuesday morning, and this time, there was a noticeable change. Immigration lines were moving faster even during the usual early morning rush. Just a few days ago, the scene was very different. Footage from the Transport Department showed long lines and frustrated passengers waiting to clear immigration. According to data from the new NAIA Infra Corp or NNIC, the busiest time at immigration is between 4 and 6 a.m. every day. So the DOTR, the Airport Authority, Immigration Bureau, and NNIC decided to team up for a quick fix.
Commissioner Joel Viado of Immigration. And Commissioner Viado committed that they would fill all the counters with immigration officers 30 minutes before the start of the peak hour, which is 3:30.
Immigration Chief Joel Viado says they've sent 60 extra officers to the departure hall, even pulling staff from other terminals and offices.
Nag-deploy po kami, not only from the main office, but also our support offices, and also from Terminal 1, tumulong po dito sa augmentation.
Another new feature is an exclusive area for OFWs with 12 immigration counters just for them. It's meant to help ease congestion at the main lanes. All in all, the transport chief says this is a great example of how different agencies and the private sector coming together can make things better for everyone.
It's Holy Tuesday, it's 5 a.m. peak hours, and walang pila sa immigration. And makakaasa po mga kababayan natin na itong cooperation na to, tuloy-tuloy ito, para hindi kang pang Holy Week to, talagang araw-araw ng ganito.
In the past few days, Secretary Dizon has been making the rounds at different terminals to ensure travelers are safe, comfortable, and stress-free this long holiday break. Secretary Vince Dizon says the Department of Transportation is fully prepared for the influx of passengers, not only here at the airport but also in seaports and bus stations across the country. For BNC Mobility, G. Baroga.
Social media platform TikTok urges Filipino users to report misinformation and harmful content. This is in line with the 2025 midterm elections. Pichi Padevna, TikTok's Philippine Public Policy Manager, explains Their goal is to operate on a shared set of facts and reality. Last January, the social media platform launched an in-app Philippine Election Center site in partnership with the Commission on Elections, the National Citizens Movement for Free Elections or NAMFREL, and the Legal Network for Truthful Elections or LENTE. This is to avoid the spread of misinformation and promote reliable and trustworthy election-related content. Vice President Sara Duterte formally endorses the re-election bid of presidential sister and Senator Amy Marcos. Senator Marcos shares the VP herself chose black as her campaign color. On the video posted on Facebook, Duterte and Amy both wore black, saying they're mourning the current state of the administration. It was posted with the caption, "Itim," which stands for Inday Trusts Amy Marcos.
Siya ang nagsasabi na wala siya sa mood, na talagang itim at luksa ang pakiramdam ng nakararami katulad niya. Hindi naman angkop na magsayaw-sayaw, hindi naman tama na magmumotor. Wala na sa lugar sa panahong ito na napakahirap ng dinadanas ng ating mga mamamayan.
Senator Marcos clarifies that she had long been friends with VP Sara and that her endorsement is not a reward for leading the Senate probe into former President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest. Former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says he does not trust Senator Amy Marcos, but he says he will still vote for the presidential sister for the sake of Vice President Sara Duterte. Roque is currently in the Netherlands where he is seeking asylum for the political persecution he claims he is facing in the Philippines.
Kung si Inday Sara Duterte naman na pinagdadaanan ng napakadaming pagsusubok ay nagdesisyon na suportahan na si Mangga Amy Marcos, mangga pa rin ang mga Marcos, hindi pa rin dapat pagkatiwalaan ng mga Marcos, bantayin pa rin natin at pagdating ng panahon, parusahan ang mga Marcos. Pero sa ngayon, may kadahilanan po ang Inday Sara, kaya niya iniindulso ang Amy Marcos, suportahan na lang po natin ang ating Inday Sara Duterte.
Senator Amy Marcos describes the country as dark and bleak in her new campaign slogan, but Malacanang says this is a more appropriate description for the previous administration.
Mas madidescribe siguro natin nung nakaraang administrasyon na sobrang itim at ngayon ay papaliwanag sa panahon ng kasalukuyang administrasyon. Hindi man ganun pakaputi.
Undersecretary Claire Castro adds that incidents of poverty and crime are lower during the current administration than in the past. She clarifies that President Bongbong Marcos does not agree with any negative campaigning, especially ones based on fake news. The Trump administration calls on Harvard University to apologize, the White House said on Tuesday. This comes after U.S. President Donald Trump froze Harvard's $2.2 billion multi-year grants on Monday. In response to the funding freeze, Harvard rejected numerous policy changes, including eliminating diversity programs, banning masks at campus protests, and ensuring merit-based hiring practices. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt had explained their action as an effort to curb anti-Semitism on college campuses, but Harvard maintains it would not cede control to a government that portrays them as dangerously leftist. U.S. President Donald Trump is open to making a trade deal with China, but White House Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt said Beijing should make the first move. She added that Trump is actively assessing trade deal proposals from more than a dozen countries, but she did not provide details.
The President has made his position on China quite clear, although I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants, what we have, the American consumer. Or to put it another way, they need our money. So the President, again, has made it quite clear that he's open to a deal with China, but China needs to make a deal with the United States of America.
And that's it for Business 360. I'm Gerg Cahiles. Thank you for joining us. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.